The Premier League is back. It's match day. Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest. And this afternoon, we find out if indeed there is an incentive, a reason, a motivation to claw our way back into the title race. This is the Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Arsenal News Show. Joining you on the Gooner Talk every single morning at 8 a.m. Thank you as always for joining us and making this a part of your morning routines. It is incredibly appreciated. The international break is over. I am very proud and glad to tell you that it is indeed done, finished. We will have no more international football until March. Rest of November, December, January, February, all those months without any more international football. It is a good time to be alive. It's a good time to be a football fan and a club fan all around the world, of course. Good morning to those joining us though in the chat box. Really appreciate your time as always. Thank you for joining us on a weekend. Peter, Damien, Olawale, Black Shine, Matt G, Glenn, Arasilki, Lee, Maximius, Martin, Paul and Barry. We've got Langdon, we've got Rancid, Steve, Paul, John, Stephen, Jun, Edison, Stevie, Louis, and plenty more of you guys and girls as well. Thank you. Please make sure you drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. Without further ado, though, let's jump to today's stories. We'll get into the Arsenal team news, which is going to take up the bulk of our conversations today. But we start with perhaps what would have been, if it wasn't for an Arsenal press conference, the biggest news of the day. And that is that the Premier League clubs have approved changes to the APT rules, the Associated Party Transaction Regulations. I'll read you this from the BBC Sport website. Premier League clubs have voted to approve changes to the rules governing commercial deals despite opposition from 4 clubs: Manchester City, Newcastle United, Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa. All other 16 clubs voted in favour of these changes. A minimum of 14 clubs are needed to vote. The Friday vote came after an independent panel found aspects of the Premier League rules to be unlawful earlier this year following a lawsuit instigated by Manchester City. You may remember that story from a few months ago. The Premier League said that the rule changes relate to integrating the assessment of shareholder loans and include the removal of some of the amendments made to APT rules earlier this year. The purpose of the APT rules is to ensure clubs are not able to benefit from commercial deals or reductions in costs that are not at fair market value by virtue of relationships with associated parties. Sources have told the BBC Sport that representatives from Chelsea and Manchester United both spoke at the meeting before the vote, urging clubs to vote through the changes. Man City's reps declined to speak. Arsenal, of course, voted in favour of these changes, and certainly a really positive step forwards that will hopefully block, stifle, and prevents to a degree, you know, these kind of crazy sponsorship deals from coming in, which are just way overinflated for certain clubs. But good to see these changes having a serious, hopefully going to have a serious impact on the way in which clubs operate in the Premier League, and it will not be beneficial to teams that have, I think we can see, have voted against this that were, I don't know, you never know what was going on. So, yeah, it's a very good step forwards for the sports and the league. Max Dowman, Arsenal's talented 14-year-old midfielder who's been performing very well for under-18s, still yet to kind of make that main step up to the 21s, but he has made a significant step up because he's continuing to train with the first team. You can see him here in shot with Mikel Arteta. It's interesting seeing, of course, somebody so young within the Arsenal setup getting involved and getting as part of the squad. Arsenal's injuries this season have meant that, you know, we really are lacking plenty of depth of quality. I'd be very surprised if you saw him get a competitive appearance this season. Who knows? I could be wrong. If Arsenal got a FA Cup draw against somebody further down the table, you never know, but I'd be very, very surprised indeed. There were, of course, those reports when Jack Wilshere was said to be leaving as under-18s coach that Max Dowman and his family were very upset and disappointed about that. He still would have to sign a professional contract when he turns 17, which is, believe it or not, for another 2+ years before he turns 17. But, of course, Arsenal showing here the progression, the pathway and the incentives to stay with the club. Riccardo Calafiori, of course, has been out with an injury since that game against Shakhtar Donetsk, posting to his social media feed yesterday, "We're so back," which gives us a very good indication, of course, about his level, and we know that he is expected to be back because Mikel Arteta took his press conference yesterday, which is, of course, the main story for us to go through today. He was asked on the latest team news. He was asked about injuries after the international break. He says there's been some positives and some others not so. Trossard seems to be okay. He trained this morning and seems to be feeling good. We will assess everything with the doctor right now as he was able to be part of the session. So that's good. So it seems like Leandro Trossard will be with the squad today, which is positive news. He was asked about Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice. He says they have had their first partial session today, so very good as well. There are suggestions that Bukayo Saka is facing something of a race against time to be ready and will need to pass a very late fitness test if indeed he is to make the game today against Forest. Declan Rice likely to be similar. He was asked about Ben White, who we know has undergone what was described as a minor procedure, but what Arteta says does not make it seem so minor. He says Ben is going to be out for months. It's been different kinds of struggles. It's never been the same thing, but we had to make a decision in the last few weeks. Unfortunately, we know that Ben is going to push every boundary, but it has got to a point where we had to protect the player and we decided to do the surgery. He agreed with that, and obviously it will keep him out for a few months, but we have to see how he reacts post-surgery. I don't expect him to be out for half a season or a year, but I cannot tell you exactly how long. So his season isn't over, but a few months could see him missing up until that next international break in March. We may get Ben White back for the run-in at the end of the season, but this is a huge, huge blow to Arsenal. Really huge. And I can't help but feel, the initial kind of indications of it being just a minor procedure maybe were, to a degree, a little bit of what's the right word, made light of perhaps what the real situation was. And him being out for months is such a huge blow to us. It really, really is. Yuri and Timber, of course, is going to be called upon to fill in his place for a period of time. But we know that Calafiori can play at right back. We know Thomas Partey can play at right back. We've got a glut of players who can play at left back. So you would hope that we will have enough to come through this period. Will it affect Arsenal's January transfer business? That, I suppose, is the next question on the agenda. He was asked about Riccardo Calafiori. He says Richie is training today, so his rehab is going really well. He was able to do certain things last week with the physios and trained on the pitch this week with us today, so he will be with the squad. Good news. Asked about Kieran Tierney and Tomiyasu. He says Kieran, not yet. He had a couple of sessions with the team, but is not ready yet to be with the team. But he's closing in, which is a good thing, I guess. Tomiyasu is going to be out a bit as well. That's not ideal on Tomiyasu at all, and we just can't seem to catch a break on Tomiyasu. He was asked again later in the press conference about this, and he says whether there's a time frame for his return. He said no, he's going to be away now for a few weeks for him to continue his training and to change his environment a little bit, because it's been really tough for him, as you can imagine. He's one of the guys where the only thing he wants to do is work 24 hours to get better, and he feels terrible when he's not fit. So it's a real shame. We're going to give him the best opportunity to try and unlock something to help him have him back as quickly as possible. But I think we need to be patient. So, again, as soon as you get kind of some semblance of news that Tomiyasu might be making progress, you just get hit back down with another reality check. I think we can all get on the same kind of token now that Tomiyasu's career with Arsenal is heading towards an end, and that's just the reality of the situation. Who on earth is going to buy him, though, when he's got these continuous problems and injuries that just cannot see him stay fit? I don't know. So while I agree with those of you that think it's time to move him on, I agree with you it's time to make that decision. That call is all well and good making, but actually finding a pathway for him out of the club is going to be very, very difficult indeed. Of course, he was asked about the recent visit to the United States to meet the club's owners, and he says it's always really positive to spend time together. We had time to talk about the transfer windows, but as well about the club and how we're feeling about what we're doing and how we're feeling about where we're going to take the club and the direction. And with their do, it's a lot of topics there, but again, it's joy to spend time with them because there's a lot to learn. They have so much experience in sport because you feel the ambition, especially when you're there. They are very far away, but how closely they live every day with us and what we want to achieve together, it feels great. He was asked about Jason Ato in the short term, stepping up to replace Edu after he, of course, resigned. And he said he's very good, Jason, and all the team. Edu and I probably got a lot of praise, but the work behind that is done by these guys. The ambition is phenomenal. It's not easy to wake up one day and you're having to move to a different office and to do a different job like he was for the team. But again, the speed of how people react and how they are willing to say, okay, that's it. That's the situation. Let's move forward with that ambition and with that determination, enthusiasm. That's something great, of course. So yes, they are. They are in this process of looking for what the next step is. They're looking for the next kind of situation regarding regarding who's going to take over. Jason Ato, I think, will be a candidate for sure, as somebody who could step into that role internally. It's obviously less risky to promote from within for a club, but the club may want to look outside. And we know that there are a number of links to a number of options. Luis Campos, Roberto Alabe, Thomas Rosicki, Gregory Lorenzi. I said Lorenzi as if it was an Italian name the other day, and I realized he is indeed French, so it's probably Lorenzi. But I think there's one more. But Thiago Scuro, there were reports saying Arsenal had dropped their interest in the Monaco CEO. So Thiago Scuro apparently not any longer as one of those people that are being considered. Just a quick last couple of questions. He was asked about Ødegaard. He was asked about his condition. He said he played really well against Chelsea, and that had consequences because after such a long time not playing, he needed time to recover. The ankle reacted and other areas of the body with so much load going into it. It wasn't ideal, but he's been okay. The last day and a half, he's trained with the team and he's feeling good. So that's really positive. He was asked about what Arsenal missed while he was out, and he said he couldn't play, but we did a lot of things in some games. It worked, especially, but Martin brings everybody together. He has this capacity to win without the ball, his charisma, his leadership. That's why he is the captain. He has the intelligence to make everybody better and to make everybody click. That's a unique quality he has. And about what was missed in the dressing room with him not there, he says he's been really on it in that sense with the dressing room. But when you step in there, you have to go through certain moments on the field. Having him makes life easier, but that doesn't mean other players don't do it or can't do it in a different way. Such a sense of reliance there kind of from Arteta, and such a sense of everything kind of hinging in some ways, I think, on Ødegaard, and such a priority that he is with the club and with the team, and how we foresee Ødegaard in this team and how important he is to the squad. It is very, very interesting indeed to see him speak so heavily about Martin Ødegaard and what his presence in the side will be. Hopefully he'll be back today, as we've heard there. He's trained. Hopefully he'll be in the squad, and that's going to be big against the Nottingham Forest side, of course, who are going to cause plenty of challenges, and they've had a very good start to the season. Well, let's move forwards, though, to part two and your questions right after this. Okay, this is part two of the show. We tackle some of your questions and more. If you would like to drop a like on the video, we really would appreciate that. I can see there's plenty of you watching on Twitter as well as on YouTube. Please make sure if you're watching on social media, hop over to YouTube. You can jump into the chat box, you can ask questions, and you can get involved with the TGT community every morning. Same time, every single day, other than tomorrow. Not that we don't usually do Sundays. We do usually do Sundays, but tomorrow I will be unable to do the show. No, I may be even able to do it, but I'm actually making it an executive decision that today I'm enjoying my birthday celebration this evening, and I am not going to be doing a show tomorrow. I'm making that decision now. I think I've earned one day off, and you will, in fact, I've earned a couple of days off, but I will be producing a podcast for you that will be going out on Monday morning, talking all about the weekend's events, all the weekend's games, but specifically the Arsenal's game this afternoon against Nottingham Forest. So you will have content on Monday morning. There just won't be any tomorrow morning. So apologies for that, but I am taking a day of annual leave as the executive of the channel. I'm taking this decision, so do forgive me for that. But do join us back on Monday, and of course for the foreseeable future. Maximius, no, we didn't do a preview show. Ended up just not happening yesterday. We didn't do a preview show. I guess I could give you a look at what lineup I'd go for if indeed I was to choose my team for today's game based upon the players that we believe are available. Let me just throw it up on the screen for you. So we probably go with Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, left back Calafiori, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, Havertz, and Martinelli, I think, would be the team, because obviously Trossard's injury situation means you probably wouldn't throw him in from the start. Let's share my screen with you. There we go. So yeah, that would probably be the team that I'd go with for today's game, if indeed everybody is fit. It may be that if Saka is out, then we have to make some changes. If Calafiori is not ready to start, we might have to change. If Odegaard's not ready to start, we have to change. If Rice isn't ready to start, that's the thing at the moment. So we've got so many players that are, of course, question marks right now. So many players that we don't know whether or not, whether or not they're going to be there and fit, and even in the squad, let alone in the starting 11. So there is going to be some time, I think. There's going to be some time needed for that. Right, let's go into the chat box and tackle some of the questions. Fergus says, is Tommy's issue more like the one Rosicki and Jack had? I think it's his knees that are the problem from the sounds of things. Tomiyasu's knees are an issue, and he just can't seem to shake, these problems that keep on coming back to hurt him. Arisuki says, Tomiyasu will only join up with Japan as soon as he's fit. He rarely plays for us, sad to say. I mean, it's nothing to do with that. I think that's just coincidental, Arisuki, to be honest. There's nothing to do with like a want to play for his country or his club. That may be the case, but I don't blame any player for that. But I do think that, it's nothing to do with kind of a preference or being fit for one over the other. Matt says, mark my words, this will be the start of an incredible run of form, barring any more injuries, knocks on wood. I sincerely hope you're right, Matt. I love the confidence. We kicked that off today's game against Nottingham Forest. Ryan Mal1 says, will games get called off today because of the snow? Up and down the country, there is snow potentially forecast in different areas of the UK. Storm Bert. I mean, have you heard of a more British named storm than that? Storm Bert, bringing snow, rain and wind as weather warnings cover most of the UK. London doesn't usually get affected by this, but it is said that it is going to be somewhat affected, and there could be some potential snow expected in the southeast, but it's going to more be about wind and rain. Looking at this map that's been provided by the Met Office, it does look like London will escape it somewhat, but who knows? With London being slightly warmer, of course, than the rest of the country because of the... I'm not going to go into the geography teacher stuff, but it just is. All right, just believe me. We'll wait and see. Hopefully, it's not going to have too much of an impact on the trains because I need to get home. Byron says we could have used Smith Rowe right about now. Should have never sold him. Also, Vieira not doing great on loan. Marino is a good but not creative enough. I think it's too early to judge Marino. I've said this before. We've barely seen the guy. He's not had a pre-season. He's had an injury that's cost him, a month or two at the beginning of the campaign. Let's just chill a bit on Mikel Moreno. I don't think that we can make too much of a judgment right now. Ben says, I'm currently on holiday in Cairo. Anyone know of any places where Arsenal fans can get together to watch the game? Cairo Arsenal Supporters Club. Is there one? Arsenal Egypt. There is an Arsenal Egypt page on Facebook. Maybe it's worth dropping them a DM to see if they do indeed host anything. Yeah, I can't see anything, but maybe one of our listeners can let us know. I should also reveal, because I was going to call out for some help, but I am revealing where I'm actually going to be going on Monday. I am going to be in San Sebastian next week as a very kind gift from the wife for my 30th, and it means that I am going to be in Spain for the game against Sporting. So if anybody knows of anywhere in San Sebastian where there are good places to watch Arsenal games, of course, it's a Champions League night, which means that games for Barcelona and Atletico Madrid are also going to be playing that night, which means it could make it a challenge to what. I do think that it could be something of a challenge to be able to find somewhere to watch an Arsenal game with there being two Spanish clubs playing that night in the Champions League. But if you've got any suggestions, do let me know, because I would like that. Dark Crow says Tom endorsing the start of a title challenge is the joke of the day. Dark Crow being our resident pessimist in the chat this morning. Amira says, considering how everyone describes Tommy Yasu as a hard worker who looks after himself extremely well, Arteta's quotes make it sound Tommy might not be in the best headspace. There is obviously always mental sides of things, especially with players that have suffered injuries. Mentally, it can take a really big toll on you physically and mentally. So I hope that he gets the help that he needs, because it must be incredibly frustrating and just demoralizing in some ways. Mark says, Tom, any pre-match buffet lineup in sausage rolls, pizzas and wings? Would you consider any additions? Oh, Mark, that's a great question. If you're having a pre-match buffet, sausage rolled pizza and wings, I love a Scotch egg. It's got to have a runny yolk though, and when you usually get kind of the party ones, they're usually kind of the other, the fully cooked through Scotch eggs. But I do love a little Scotch egg. Always love a nugget, a chicken nugget on a buffet. Can't go wrong. Or tenders, ideally. You want tenders if you're going to have any bit of chicken. I know you got wings there already, but tenders, it's got to be tenders. Curly fries. It sounds very beige coloured buffet, Mark, and I lean into that heavily. I appreciate a beige buffet. So, yes, definitely curly fries, I think, is if you can get hold of them, go and get curly fries. At worst, crinkle cut, but we do prefer curly fries. They are much, 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 much better. So if you can get hold of them, get some. And coleslaw. I love a bit of coleslaw. I know it's not everyone's to everyone's liking, but I love a bit of coleslaw, yeah. So there you go, Mark. There's some beige buffet advice for you for pre-match. Let's go to Nick, who says, no Merino. I'd give Rice more time and play Thomas Odegaard and Merino together. I mean, if Rice is out, of course, we have got Merino there to help himself. Nundinho says, Tom, get yourself a VPN. Could get one, but I kind of want to go and watch the game in a pub somewhere or a bar somewhere, but just that's what I need help in finding. Mike says, how does a free transfer affect transfer budgets? I mean, it's different, isn't it? Because free transfers sometimes have signing on fees. They have wages that are usually inflated when they're free transfers. So there are budgets that affect wages, budgets that affect how much you can spend in a window. There's amortization. It's very complicated, Mike, but free transfers do still have an impact on your budget, just not as much as what, of course, like a multi-million-pound deal for a player would have an impact. Mohamed says, Tom, go and watch Real Sociedad. I wish I could, but we're going on Monday. Basque Derby is actually tomorrow. Real Sociedad Athletic Club are playing Real Sociedad tomorrow. I do plan on visiting both stadiums. It's something I would like to do. But sadly not going to be able to catch a game. But just seeing the stadiums, I've got to choose, because as you know, wherever I go anywhere in the world, I always end up getting a shirt. I was in Florence earlier this year. I'd already got a Fiorentina shirt, so I bought the latest Italian national team shirt. Other places that we've been, I've got a Galatasaray shirt. I've got obviously a Salzburg shirt, a Sporting Lisbon shirt with Bruno Fernandes on the back. That looks a bit silly now, doesn't it? Espanyol shirt from being in Barcelona. Spain World Cup winning shirt. Loads of different shirts. I've forgotten most of them anyways. There's loads more. But I am going to have to choose. And I am a little bit stuck, because I've loved Athletic Club for a long, long time. And I really appreciate the Basque kind of the Basque force, if you will, that they've used to construct such a team. But Real Sociedad has a lot more Arsenal links, if you think about it. Kieran Tierney on loan last season, Mikel Moreno being signed from there, Roberto Alaba at the moment being talked about, Martin Odegaard having been on loan there, Nacho Monreal spending time there as well. It's where I'm actually going. I'm flying into Bilbao, but we're staying in San Sebastian. So I've got to make a decision. An Athletic Club shirt or a Real Sociedad shirt. That's going to be a tough one, but that's the decision I've got to make. So maybe we can have some of your thoughts. Maybe I'll put a little poll in the chat box just for now. why is the question really? But which shirt should I get is the question. Which shirt? I may ignore the poll, just a heads up. I may not choose what you've picked. Which shirt should I get? I'm just curious. Athletic Club or Real Sociedad? Anyone who calls them Athletic Bilbao gets it's going to get booted. So anyone who calls Atletico Madrid Atletico Madrid bugbear, as you very well know by now. Timmy says, "Are you a blue guy or a red?" Well, obviously I'm a red guy because Arsenal, but this is different. It's not the same. It's two different clubs. Carlos Vela, yes, what a shout! Carlos Vela also played at Real Sociedad. 2. Has there been any Arsenal players? Arsenal Athletic Club transfers. Can anyone think of any clubs between? I mean, Nico Williams obviously being linked with Arsenal at the moment. I've also got to pick the shirt, the player who I would even get on those. But we haven't really been linked to anybody at Athletic Club besides Nico Williams. Did we ever sign anybody from Athletic Club? We ever signed anybody from there? We were linked to. We were linked to Martinez, Inigo Martinez, a fair few years ago as well. Laporte, we were linked to Laporte before he joined Manchester City for quite a while. But I don't think we've ever. Have we ever? No, Thomas Partey played for Almeria and Atletico, Fergus. It wasn't Athletic Club. It was Atletico. But I can see why they make those problems. Steve says, if and when you go away, you buy a shirt, why do you persist in going to Spurs press conferences? It's my job, man. I can only apologise, Steve. I can only apologise. I have no control over the press conferences I have to attend. It's part and parcel of the job, I'm afraid. Part and parcel of the job. Mike says, do you have any close friends who are Spurs fans? Yes, I do, Mike. And it's a pain I have to suffer every single day. But yes, there are there are Spurs fans that I sadly have to deal with on a daily basis. And even as a best man at my wedding, yes, there are Spurs fans. Let's scroll to the chat because I probably missed some others. Mr. Yuslin says, do you also get club scarves? I don't get club scarves. Scarves are kind of just dedicated to Arsenal, as you can see from behind me. Anybody that comes over from the States and watches the channel, they've been very kind to donate some of their brilliant scarves. There's more actually on the other side there as well. Chicago Gooner scarf. Got 2 Chicago Gooners scarves actually because they're very, very nice. In fact, that one there you can see. Hold on, mirrors. That one there is a Chicago Gooner, as you can see. It's very nice. That's the one that they actually gave to Patrick Vieira. You probably see it in the video. That's the one that Patrick Vieira gets given. But yeah, whenever any kind of listeners from other nations bring over scarves, I've got others in a box somewhere. So obviously this isn't going to be the permanent residence of the channel. One day it will change. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that you don't know about. But for now, yeah, loads of scarves. Ramsey says, get a half and half scarf. Goodness me, no. What do you take me for? What do you take me for? I used to get half and half scarves when I was younger when I went to an England game. If I went to England games, that's the only time I could ever feel like I could justify a half and half scarf because you would know the England game as a kid that you went to go and watch. That's the only time. Any other time than that, I don't think is ever justifiable. It's probably not even justifiable for an international side of things. Some people would argue even less so. But that was the only time I would only ever get a half and half scarf. And I think I only got 2 of them. And it was England, Spain, and I do have my affiliations with Spain. Damien says the Athletic Club shirt looks better. Maybe that's Damien because you've got those Arsenal eyes. You've got those Arsenal eyes, don't you? Which is like red and white naturally stands out to us. But it is a really nice red and white shirt. I do have a red and white vertical stripe shirt because Salzburg have one of those. The Real Sociedad kit has got something this season which you all know I am not a fan of. I do believe this season's kit for 24-25, yes, it does. And there is something on the Real Sociedad kit that I don't particularly enjoy on football shirts, which could be a deciding factor in this decision. And that will definitely come into it. I wonder if anyone else in the chat can work out what it is. Something I have a real hate towards and real dislike towards on football shirts. Perez says, I've been watching back because I joined late and Tom turned 30 and I realised there's more to life than giving us a show on Sunday. Just wait till he turns 35, guys. We'll get a show once a week. Don't you worry, Perez. This isn't going anywhere. This isn't going to go anywhere. Don't you worry. But yes, it's amazing. At turn 30 and I'm taking a day off. It's not the way things will go forward. It's just a consequence. So he says, Tom, how's the weather in the UK at the moment? Will there be some weather issues in Premier League games? Hopefully there won't be any issues in Premier League games. Grounds have underfloor heating. So snow rarely, if ever, settles on the ground in Premier League stadiums. But, of course, it can affect travel. Travel is obviously the big question mark with it. Hopefully everything will be all right. Yes, you did indeed get this correct. I don't like collars on football shirts. Yeah, collars have no place, in my opinion, on a football shirt. I never, ever, ever, ever love a shirt if it has a collar on it. It's very difficult ever to enjoy that. For me, collars are for smart shirts. They're not for football shirts. They're just not. That's not what we. That's not what we want. That's not what we're looking for. So for me, it's a solid no. And Real Sociedad's kit does have a collar on it, which means I am more inclined to lean towards a Bilbao shirt. Oh my goodness, I said it. I just broken my own rule. An Athletic Club shirt. I'm more inclined to lean towards that. I just don't like. I just don't like them. Anyway, looking at the weather, it's saying later on tonight the weather should be 13, 14 degrees, which, considering it was 1 degree a couple of days ago, the weather's actually not looking too bad. But the weather is not going to be good. It's worth saying. It's going to be very wet and windy and rainy. I might have to go and take very windy. It's at 80%. So yeah, an umbrella may be necessary for later. Mark says, I hope you wear a collared shirt on the golf course, Tom. Oh, yeah, there are rules, Mark. There are certain rules. Even then, though, I'm often wearing kind of some kind of jacket to cover it up. Right, let's check the poll, shall we? 63% of you are saying Real Sociedad, 37% of you are saying Athletic Club, even with the collar. Mad people, crazy people. Mike says, my last question for today. Do you have any feeling in your gut that Arsenal might be willing to do a big transfer this upcoming January window, like an Isak or a Rafael Leao? I don't, Mike, to be honest. I don't have that feeling that Arsenal will do a big transfer in January. I have a feeling that we'll do business because I feel like there's no excuses for us but to do some business. But for me, I don't foresee that being something that we will do. I don't think it'll be a big deal that happens in January. I think it might be one or two more lower profile deals, but let's see what happens. I hope I'm proven wrong. I really do. The Athletic Club shirt, though, is some third kit is something else. Athletic Club third kit. What, the pink one? Is that what you mean? The pink kit. It's quite nice. I wouldn't. It's like yeah. It's not for me. There. I'm not saying I don't like pink shirts. I think Palermo have had some amazing shirts down the years. But the idea of the shirt apparently is it's inspired by the sunsets in Bilbao. Is what the shirt is said to be inspired by. It's quite a nice messaging, but it's not for me. It's not for me, that one. I know it would be for others, but that one's not for me. Oslo says, Isak has said that Gabriel and Saliba are the best centre-backs in the Premier League. Well, maybe you'd come along and play with them. That'd be great. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Just bring Isak, come along and play with Gabriel and Saliba. Mike says, forget about shirts. San Sebastian is about the food. What you're going to go and eat. So there's a lot of food stuff planned. There's a very famous Spanish omelette place that we're going to try. There's a few seafood places, I think. There's a few nice beef places as well. So, yeah, we're going to hit the usual. We're going to be those guys. We're going to be the tourist people, me and the wife. But, yeah, that is the reason we're going. It's been on the bucket list for a while, and I'm very excited. It's all about the food in San Sebastian. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing, Mike. Don't you worry. We'll be attacking plenty of those joints with for their food. Don't you worry. Anyway, that brings us to an end of today's show. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. If you're listening on audio platforms, make sure you hop over to YouTube, leave a like and a comment. That would really be appreciated. And yeah, I'd love to continue the conversation with you. Of course, I'll be back with you on Monday with a podcast of the game from today. No show tomorrow morning, but I'll be back with you on Monday morning with a podcast, hopefully with some guests talking all about today's game, and then we're back to the usual stuff on Tuesday, where you will be joined by me in hopefully sunny Spain. So I'm looking forward to that. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful, and as always, up the Arsenal.